photographs than I can possibly remember, all across the world for over a decade. But there are some stories that stay with you forever. They occupy your mind and haunt your dreams. This is one of those stories.
All right, on the back of that, this Women's Month, we're going to be looking at the role of women spearheading initiatives for big cats and conservation at large. For thousands of years, big cats have been revered and feared by humans, but it is a story of great fascination and deep fear as well, because how great is the suffering of the animals that are exploited, held captive, displaced from the habitat, and also killed by us humans and our actions alike. Fiona Miles, director at Four Paws, now chats to us this morning about her career journey and her love for big cats, apex predators, as well as the role of conservation on the back of an exclusive screening of the documentary Dethroned. Fiona Miles, good morning. Thank you for your time on the SABC at this hour.
Good morning. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Fiona, firstly, happy Women's Month, and thank you for your continuous work in conservation. Perhaps, for those who are not privy to your journey as well, you could talk to your work over the years in uncovering the truth. What first inspired you to get into conservation and also focus on big cats?
Thanks very much. Yes, happy Women's Month. And what inspired me to get into conservation and big cats was seeing a report on television. It was called the Cook Report. And it was a lioness being hunted on one side of the fence off the back of a vehicle in front of her cubs that were sitting just on the other side of that fence. And having become just a mother recently at that time myself, I was horrified as to seeing the atrocities. I wasn't aware of that kind of thing before, and seeing the atrocities that we perpetrate against big cats. And so over time and learning what was actually going on in this country, I had the opportunity to start working for Four Paws and learned a lot about not only animal welfare, but about the plight of big cats all around the world.
Perhaps we could get into that, because Dethroned, with the screening last week, unearthed many things, many realities, and some of them were hard to swallow. Perhaps you could talk to the different locations that were scouted and Dethroned, South Africa's role in all of this, some of the practices, the exploits that big cats are still subjected to, because it is still legal in South Africa.
That's right. So Dethroned is a film that really, takes people around the world to have a look at our relationship with big cats, stemming back for thousands of years. And it went from Peru, looking at how how jaguars are revered, all the way through to Thailand, looking at how tigers, for example, are being commodified, and the role that South Africa plays. South Africa is the biggest exporter of big cats and their parts from anywhere around in the world. That is a frightening statistic, and it's something that really has a very negative mark on our reputation as a country, where we are supposed to be known for our incredible conservation and certainly the diverse animals that we have in this country. So yes, South Africa has a big part to play. The government is making steps to change our intensive and, let's say, commercial breeding of big cats, but we need to ask them for a time-bound and clear plan of how that's going to look, because every single day new cubs and new big cats are being brought into this world only to be abused.
Yeah, there is that ministerial task team that had been set up in 2018, but obviously given the policy position on conservation at large, there's still gaps that pervade that. In your daily work at Four Paws, perhaps you could, on the back of policy or advocating for policy and change, you could also speak to how you help big cats now, the role of Four Paws since it was founded back in 1988. I also just wonder, on the back of World Lion Day that was celebrated on the 10th of August, how we keep that conversation going about the realities on the ground.
Thanks very much. I think so Four Paws has been rescuing big cats from around the world, from circuses, zoos, private keeping. We operate a sanctuary just outside of Bethlehem in the Free State called Lions Rock. And there we have more than 100 big cats that have been rescued from these very poor circumstances that we see during the course of the film. World Lion Day is such an important day to put a spotlight on the plight of big cats. And in terms of what people can do, one of the big messages this World Lion Day, where we've partnered with other NGOs, is to bring a clear message that everything that we do unwittingly as people, whether we are visiting any of these tourism facilities to pet a cub, or to walk with a lion or to take selfies with these animals, we are actually killing them softly, unwittingly. We're actually contributing to the vicious circle that their life has become, being commodities. So there are many things to do, such as signing pledges, petitions. As much as we can give a voice as an organization and bring everybody's voices forward to the government to actually say, look, 96%, we did a survey, 96% of people in South Africa don't want the commodification of big cats any longer. And this is a message that we need to send to government and ask them to speed things up.
Fiona, women in conservation at large, what are some of those challenges that continue to pervade the space? How better do we equip them at large, given the realities that you yourself face?
There are a lot of, obviously, difficulties that people on the ground face on a daily basis. I think the concept that it's a soft thing, but it's actually very serious work. There's a huge amount of work that needs to go into conservation in this country. I think as much as we can educate, as much as we can provide education to future leaders in conservation, the better. There aren't enough veterinarians. There aren't enough people who look after the animals in the wild. And there's definitely space for more education in the field of conservation, in the field of looking after not only big cats but all animals, and animal welfare in particular. To teach empathy to children at this point in time, at a young age, is really essential to building a future where humans, in fact, will treat animals with respect, empathy, and understanding as well as each other.
Fiona, I was reading about the stats on the ground, approximately about 10,000 lions, over 600 tigers that are known by authorities, and obviously there are also an unknown number of big cat species that are kept in captivity for commercial purposes. Perhaps for those who are not privy to understanding what that means, you could break it down. Obviously it's explored in the screening, but just in terms of conscientizing people to what is being experienced in this neoliberal capitalist society in relation to lions and apex predators.
So in general, and this is generalization, every facility operates a little bit differently, but generally where there's a facility that's open to the public, that is a constant supply of cubs, those cubs are being intensively bred by a number of females. Those cubs have been taken away from their mothers. They have not been rejected. They are not orphaned. They've actually been taken away from their mothers to be handled by people for selfies and to pet. Money is made from that. From there, once they get too big to play with and interact with, they will go back into the breeding cycle. And many of these animals are used for, not only further breeding, but potentially for hunting, as well as harvesting of their bones and body parts. That is actually being done in South Africa. There's processing of the derivatives of animals here in South Africa, as well as the fact that we are also exporting live animals to facilities elsewhere in the world. So when you're even visiting a facility somewhere else in the world, it could be those animals were bred in South Africa. So that's why we say it's a vicious cycle from birth to death. It's a cycle of commodification. It's a cycle of suffering. And we really firmly believe that to address this, we have to stop the breeding and not allow any further facilities to open, and walk a path with the facilities that exist to shut down and find other opportunities to rather benefit conservation than perpetuate the cycle.
Fiona, I need to wrap up. The call to action very quickly. What is that call to action from you? And two, also people want to get involved or understand more. How do they go about doing that?
Thank you. Please visit the Four Paws website. You can definitely sign our petition to end the vicious cycle. Furthermore, please don't visit facilities where there are cubs or that you can interact with animals. If you see that, ask questions. Ask, where do these animals come from? Why are we able to do this? And think to yourself, rather visit the facilities that don't allow those interactions.
All right, Fiona, thank you for your time at this hour and for your continuous work in conservation and alongside our big cats. We'll leave that conversation there for now. Fiona Miles, director at Four Paws, chatting about women in conservation. This on the back of the Dethroned screening and World Lions Day as well. Thank you to her for joining us at this hour.